In an article posted today, it says New York City to require vax records for indoor activities such as restaurants and gyms. This article also comes out around the same time as investigation finds Cuomo sexually harassed several women and violated laws. Ironically, New York City will require proof of vax for workers and customers who want to participate in indoor activities, including dining in restaurants, working out in gyms, and attending theater performances. This came out by De Blasio today. The policy is one of the first of its kind in the United States, and soon to be followed up by many more in many of these Democratic blue states. It comes amid a nationwide spike in cases, again, in cases, not hospitalizations, driven largely by the spread of the variant. It says the Key to NYC Pass program will begin on August 16th and take enforcement on September 13th. And I have no doubt that there will be quite a few individuals who will leave the city. Overwhelmingly, there's hundreds of thousands of people that have left the city. There's been hundreds of thousands of businesses and jobs, I should say, that will never come back to New York. New York will more than likely be the next Detroit, especially because no one is going to come here. There may be some government push and regulations that will cause certain businesses that are working hand in glove with the state. But in terms of individuals wanting to create businesses, why would they? You have all of these sort of restrictions. And on top of that, you have the real life experience of watching other businesses get shut down when the government deems it's time for a shutdown. If you don't do what we say, well, then we're going to shut down your business. And this is basically how the government does it. This is what we refer to as fascism, where governments work hand in hand with certain businesses, and the businesses are, in essence, forced to comply. It's not that these business owners want to do these things, but they have families to feed. They have, bills that they need to pay as well. And so when the state requires these things and the state starts to flex their muscles in terms of authoritarian sort of style rule, well, then a lot of these businesses are not going to go out there, in essence, and push back, because they know that there'll be the few individuals who will do that, and then they'll enact a law, and then you'll lose your business anyway. So people just kind of go along to get along, and this will be the attitude of many of the people that, well, I need to get a job, and I have bills to pay, I can't starve. And this is how this stuff starts to snowball moving forward. This is time for people to see vaccination as literally necessary for living a good and full and healthy life. And that's according to De Blasio, or Dr. De Blasio. Says if you're unvaccinated, unfortunately, you will not be able to participate in many things. And this is how you cause segregation. This is open segregation. And people are okay with it. This is not something that people are like, this is, medical apartheid because you're considered unvaccinated. Like I said, I've gone to the gym. You go to all these stores over here, nobody wears a face covering. And again, how would you know? I said this in the very beginning when I first talked about this with the change, that there was people who were going into these areas, gyms and businesses, etc., and you couldn't tell who took it and who didn't. How did they mandate? They had, it's just an honor system. And so the government basically allowed this, and people will sit here and be like, well, the government tried to allow people to go back to, in essence, a state of normalcy. And this is the point. They let you go back to a state of normalcy, so you kind of get that feeling, oh, it was great going back, it was great going out to the restaurants, it was great going back to the bars, and maybe you went out to a club or a rooftop and you were like, oof, it felt more normal. And that's the point. The point is to give people the semblance of normalcy and then begin to strip it away from them if you just don't do this one more thing. And this has been going on for the past 16 months, from just 2 weeks to slow the spread to, hey, take this medication that you're not quite sure what is in it, but it is for your health. It says, while New York City is the first U.S. city and by no means the last to institute a municipal vaccine passport, says the state developed its own Excelsior Pass mobile app. And of course, there will be more information in that mobile app to come. Private businesses, including sports arenas and concert halls that wanted to require proof, could use the app. It says the mayor on Tuesday said that there will be multiple ways to show proof of vaccination, including a paper card, the Excelsior Pass, and the city's own New York C19 Safe app, which was unveiled Monday. While other major cities, including Washington, no surprise, San Francisco, no surprise, LA, no surprise, have recently imposed mask mandates. As de Blasio, and ironically, even on those who took it. So if you took it and you were like, "This, I'm finally going to be able to take this thing off," and they're like, "Not so fast," and then you're like, "But I took it. Doesn't make any sense. Why am I still taking it?" They're like, "Well, you can still spread it." Well, then why did I take it? And they're like, "Don't ask those questions," because the lefties, the normies, will just be like, "Well, they never said it's 100%," and if somebody dies, that's the same exact talking point that they will utilize. They'll just always repeat the same talking point. Oh, they never said it was 100%. Well, they said it was 90 something percent. And it's like, it doesn't matter. It has absolutely nothing to do with percentages, has nothing to do with infections, etc. It's like literally just shut up and do what we tell you. Otherwise, there are going to be consequences. And this is what you see, and this is what you're going to see moving forward. It's why you don't see protests, right? You don't see protests in America, right? When was the last time you seen like a real protest of what's going on here? And you might see a couple of workers here and there, but not. You look at what's going on in Italy, Germany, France, Greece, etc. Right? All these different countries, they're like out there by the thousands fighting the police officers, and Americans are just like, "Can I have another stimmy check? You can take whatever you want." Do I get a stimmy? And that's basically the route. Like I said, America is a socialist country, and the people are going to vote for this stuff moving forward. As long as they get free shit, they're going to be like, why not, right? Here's $100. Here's some tickets for your favorite team, right? Whatever it takes to bribe you to lose your freedoms. Like the old saying is, you can vote for socialism and for communism in, but you cannot vote your way out. You have to shoot your way out. And many of those Cubans that you see protesting, what people don't understand is that the Cuban people that they showed you on TV are the communists. The Cuban people that they showed you on TV, these people chanting for freedom, those are the communists. The people who left are the ones that live in Florida or in other states, and they realize, I need to get the hell out of here. Those are the people who wanted freedom. They saw the writing on the wall. The people who stayed are the ones that are like, give me that free shit. I want free shit. And it's only years later that they realize this was a bad idea. And then the government cracks down on it. It's the same thing in Venezuela. It's the same thing in Venezuela. The people who stayed in Venezuela, they're like, tax the rich, baby. Tax the rich. Give us more free shit. The same thing that you see here. Right? You see the cancel rent, right? Make them pay their fair share, etc. Right? This is an error. It's the same thing over and over and over again. People will learn the hard way. It's one of the reasons why, for example, just recently, Janet Lee Yellen, they were calling for global minimum tax, right? Because they don't want to compete. They realize that businesses can leave the states, they can leave the country, and they'd be like, you know what? We'll just go to this country over here, and we will pay a lower tax rate because you're just taxing the shit out of our business just to pay for social programs for people who don't want to work. So why should we do that? And people who sit here and complain about it, they're literally just robbing you of your labor. That's basically what it is. You work and they steal a portion of your labor to give the benefits of that labor to people who don't want to put in labor. That's just what socialism is. It's what these people ask for when they talk about cancel rent, when they talk about give me free free healthcare, I need free retirement, I need free social security, I need free education, I need you to cancel my student loan debt. All that represents is I want you to rob the labor of these people over here who are very industrious, and I want you to give it to these people over here who are not. This is what you see in socialism. And once people realize, I can vote for that? Are you telling me that I can vote to steal other people's shit? You're just going to get more of that. It's what the expansion of all these social programs are. Right? You've seen Joe Biden talk about, we need to give all these women free childcare, right? Because they need to be able to go back to work. Well, who's going to pay for that? People who are productive. These women who take on many of these jobs that require free daycare, they're not productive. They're not adding anything in terms of productivity to society. They're just workers. They're just basically working for these other individuals, and most of what they get is extracted via taxation. Same thing with when we need to give these individuals more free education on the early, two more years of free education. The state wants your kids from the age of 3 all the way up until like 20 something. Why? Because they want to indoctrinate them. They want to indoctrinate them more moving forward so that they produce more socialists. That's why Joe Biden was like, you Cubans need to stay over there. Don't even think twice about coming over here. Why? Because the Cuban people have experienced what communism looks like, and they're not gonna vote for it. Just like the Cubans that live in Florida vote Republican. They've become conservative. They realize that this shit don't work. That's why they don't want you people here. It's because they know that. They rather take the people from Honduras, from Mexico, from El Salvador, etc. Because these people live in very impoverished areas, and they'll be like, shit, it's better than where we're at. They'd be like, it's better than where we're at. Give me free shit. You see the exact same thing in Europe. You see all of these migrants coming from Syria or other Middle Eastern areas, and they come. What do they come for? They come for the social programs. The UK and Europe has some of the largest social programs. It's why you hear about the reset moving forward. It's because they realize this is not sustainable. We cannot sustain all these programs, and so what they do, just try to stem off instead of making cuts, right? Instead of calling for austerity, they say, well, we'll bring in these immigrants from these other countries. They still have kids. Overwhelmingly, we push feminism for our women, so these women don't have kids because the men don't want them. The men don't want them after they've been ran through, very similar to America, and then they don't have kids. And then, of course, you can't sustain all these social programs without a growing body of people, right? If you're not producing people, then you're basically falling from the top down, because the bottom supports the top. And when you have too many people at the top, this is what socialism is. This is inherently what socialism is a complete collapse where the actual people who are productive can no longer support the people who are unproductive, and then the whole system just collapses into poverty. This is basically the road that America has chosen. That's why I've been preparing and working to leave. And eventually, it looks like I'll be leaving New York sooner than I thought, because there's no point. I can go to another state and get taxed less. I get an additional tax just for living in Manhattan, right? Manhattan's been closed. The tourism is dead. The nightlife is dead. It's like there's no point in living here just to get an extra tax. Yeah, like an extra 1,000 something just for living in the luxury of living in Manhattan. You get to pay more while everything is shut down. They were like, dang, well, you take this medication here, or we might let you open back up. But moving forward, and all that happens is these individuals leave from one state to the next, but they take their policies and they take their they take their socialism with them. It's not that they change. Once they realize that, wait a minute, I came to this red state and now I gotta work. They give me free shit when I was over there, and they come here, and then you get a choice. Do you want the guy who's gonna give you free shit, or do you want the guy that says you need to be productive? Many people are just gonna vote for free stuff. It's why you see a lot of these states that were like solid red states, they're borderline. They're almost on the verge of flipping. And this is the point. You create all this social migration within the country, and many people who have come from, you see the same thing in Venezuela. When the people fled Venezuela and they fled into Colombia, what did they push for? They pushed for fucking social programs. It's the same thing in country after country after country. When the people realize that they can vote for socialism, they do it. Why would they not? Why would they not vote for the government to take from you, give it to me? Once people realize that they can do that, they're like, shit, this is fantastic. I can vote for other people, free shit. I don't really have to work. I mean, what is it? In Illinois, the social programs for women, it's on the verge of like $54K a year. Ain't nobody getting a fucking job to be that productive. To be that productive, the average man makes about 50. The average white man makes like 52,000, 54,000. The average black man makes around 42 to 44. For the level of productivity, and the women just get it for free. right? This shit ain't going nowhere. This is the inevitable collapse of the West. You can choose to stay, or you can choose to take your productivity someplace else where it will be more appreciated. This is going to happen across the entire West. The entire West is going to go through this. And the only thing that you can comfortably do, realistically speaking, is to leave. Is to leave. Some people might say, well, this is America, you're abandoning your country, you're a coward, etc. The Jews thought the exact same thing. The Jews thought the exact same thing when Rome was knocking on their door. They were like, that fancy temple, this whole shit, we taking it over. And some people wisely left. Some people stayed. Some people tried to protest, etc. Most of these people died. At the end of the day, the ones who didn't leave either died or became slaves. It's up to you what you choose to do. But eventually, as you saw, the ones who ended up leaving, right? The Jews who ended up leaving ended up, hundreds, maybe 1,000 years later, able to reclaim their land, which they're fighting over once again with the Muslims there. But this is the route that America is going to go. If you think otherwise, you are more than welcome to stay and wait. But the reality is, the longer that you stay, limits your opportunity to get out. Just like the Jews in Nazi Germany, just like the Jews during the time of Rome, there was an opportunity to come out. And if you don't take it, you may realize you'll be stuck, just like the Cubans.